Hello my fellow snail sufferers, it's your missile guy back with another installment of our new series on obscure missiles. After covering Fox-3s in our previous video, today we're diving into some fascinating semi-active radar homing missiles that deserve a spot in War Thunder. Before we get there, I've hit a major milestone, not just reaching 2,000 subs, but surpassing it with 2.2 thousand. The support you've shown to my channel means the world to me, and I'm actually so grateful for every single one of you. Thank you guys for the support. As usual, these missiles are largely ones that were either not produced in significant numbers or have been largely forgotten by history. If I get any details wrong, please leave a comment below to correct me. When I say obscure, I'm referring to missiles that aren't commonly discussed, ranging from those that never left the drawing board to limited production models that never saw widespread use. I do my best to respond to every comment, and everything in this video will be timestamped below for your convenience. Let's dive right in. Starting with a missile we're actually likely to see added to War Thunder, we have the R-98, known under the NATO reporting name AA-3. This missile was an evolution of the earlier K-8 missile with developments beginning in 1955. Initially designated as K-8, it was later upgraded to the R-98 standard. The R-98 featured two main variants, the R-98R, which is a semi-active radar variant equipped with a PARG-14 VV seeker, and the R-98T, which was the infrared variant featuring the TGS-14T seeker. These would eventually be upgraded into the R8MT1 and the R8MR1 variants, which provided enhanced operational altitude capabilities. The R-98 became the primary weapon of the Su-15 interceptor. In 1963, it was conceived as the main armament for the Su-15, designed primarily as a bomber interceptor. This was the missile type used when the Soviet Su-15 shot down Korean Airlines Flight 707 in 1983. The technical specifications of this missile are on screen now. Something worth noting, as said earlier, they're available in both SAR and IR variants. They were often deployed in pairs, one of each, to increase hit probability. Interestingly, we might actually see this missile in game soon. In December 2025, Gaijin released a 2026 New Year photo featuring two aircraft, the F-16XL and the Su-15. This suggests we could very well receive the R-98 in upcoming updates or events, which would be absolutely fantastic. Now, you know I'm a big advocate for variety with missiles when it comes to planes. I feel like planes should be able to use all types of missiles. Any missiles they have access to, they should be able to have. And while it is difficult to model all these types of missiles, Gaijin have done it so far without a problem. As for researching, well, if you look at the F-16C POBIT, right here, you could see that they lumped the AIM-120B and C together. They could very well do things like that for AIM-9s, and it doesn't make any sense for someone who wants to stick to the meta to bring something like the AIM-9J on the F-15A, for example. However, it would allow for freedom, especially for people that want to do challenges, or maybe someone wants to use it in a custom battle. I think it's a consideration that Gaijin should do. It just gives the player more variety on their jets. Remember that Release the Eagle meme?
Release the Eagle.
Release the what?
Well, what if I told you I wasn't talking about the F-15 Eagle, but rather an absolute brick of a missile designed to eliminate Soviet bombers at extreme range? Meet the AAM-N-10 Eagle, a weapon that seems to have been designed by someone who truly believed bigger is better. That's what she said. In 1957, the US Navy began developing a new concept for airborne fleet defense. This involved a large subsonic interceptor equipped with a powerful radar and a very long range. High-speed anti-aircraft missile capable of engaging approaching bombers at distances exceeding 185 kilometers. In December 1958, Bendix was selected as the prime contractor for the AAM-N-10 Eagle missile, with major subcontracts awarded to Grumman and Aerojet. About a year later, the contract for the launch platform went to Douglas F-6D Design, which was intended to carry 6 Eagle missiles. Among the F-6D's most important features was its Westinghouse AN/APQ-81 pulse Doppler radar, one of the first track-well scanned radars developed for fighter aircrafts. The AN/APQ-81 could detect targets at 220 kilometers, though the F-6D would typically be supported by the W2F-1, later known as the E-2 Hawkeye. After launch, this massive missile would be boosted to Mach 3.5 by a solid propellant rocket booster with folding fins, after which it would glide for a period of time. The long-burning solid-fueled sustainer motor would then propel the missile towards its target at Mach 4.5. The AN/APQ-81 could simultaneously track up to 8 targets from 150 kilometers away, which is quite impressive for the first ever really used track-well-scan radar. This missile would also feature home-on-jam capabilities, allowing it to track directly on a jamming source. However, this mode wouldn't provide distance calculations, making it less efficient and unable to loft properly. Ultimately, the F-6D and the Eagle missile development program was cancelled in December 1960 due to expense concerns and a re-evaluation of the slow interceptor concept. This unfortunately happened before any of the Eagle prototypes could be tested or produced. However, the concept of long-range fleet defense survived and eventually evolved into the F-14 Tomcat and the AAM-N-11, or also known as the AIM-54 Phoenix missile. In 1957, Hughes was developing a weapon system as part of the U.S. Air Force's LRI-X requirement for a Mach 3 interceptor. The system was composed of an XY-1 fire control system and a GAR-X, which in itself was just a testing variant of the AIM-47. In April 1958, these systems were assigned to the winning LRI-X design and given the designations AN/ASG-18 and GAR-9. The winning LRI-X design was, of course, the North American F-108 Rapier. The XGAR-9 would be redesignated as X-AIM-47A in 1963. This was a very large missile intended primarily for long-range interception of incoming Soviet bombers, boasting a range exceeding 160 kilometers. The AIM-47 utilized semi-active guidance, with the missile flying the early portions of its flight path using an autopilot program with pre-launch positioning and heading data. Early problems with the SAR seeker development led to a consideration of a dual-mode SAR-IR seeker head. This was ultimately abandoned when it was determined that the missile would increase in diameter by 2 inches, requiring a redesign of the F-108's weapon bay. The missile was powered by an Aerojet General X-1059 solid rocket, giving it a speed of Mach 6. However, issues with this motor led to its replacement with the Lockheed XSR-13 LP-1 solid rocket motor, which reduced its speed to around Mach 4. Interestingly, a nuclear variant was planned with national laboratories, beginning development of a .25 kiloton W-42 nuclear forehead. I was about to say forehead. Oh my god. Of a .25 kiloton W-42 nuclear warhead in 1958, though this was ultimately cancelled that same year. An anti-radar variant of the AIM-47 was also considered for the B-70 Valkyrie bomber. While the AIM-47 was ultimately cancelled in 1966, it laid the groundwork for what would become the AIM-54 Phoenix, kinda in the same way as the Eagle missile. However, the Eagle missile was way earlier and it just was the basic design concept of a long-range missile. On screen, you can see the design specifications of the AIM-47 as well as a picture of it compared to the AIM-54 Phoenix, which is just insane. It's a huge missile. I don't even think people realize that, to be honest. I didn't really know much about the AIM-47 until I started researching it for this video, and I'm gonna be honest, I thought the AIM-47 would be smaller. I don't know, I always thought of it as like the AIM-4 Falcon, but obviously not. I was obviously wrong. Now, originally, the AIM-47 was the final missile on today's list, but I decided that I'm going to include something that isn't as obscure, but I feel like if I didn't mention this missile, I would get pulverized by my comment section because it's been heavily requested. The final missile on today's list is the R-33 semi-active radar missile. The R-33, or also known as AA-9A Amos, is a Soviet long-range semi-active radar missile designed for use by the MiG-31 to engage low-altitude targets. It can also be used on fighters, as you would expect. The R-33 is unique for being the only SAR missile capable of engaging multiple targets. This capability is made possible by the N007 Zaslon radar, which features a passive electronically scanned array, or also known as PESA. The missile's development involved extensive testing using modified aircrafts. A MiG-21 with the serial number 762-11524 was converted into the LL-21 testbed to evaluate missile seekers, while a Tu-104 jetliner with the serial of 42324 was converted into LL-104-518. Also known as LL-2, to test the MFBU-410 Zaslon radar, along with missile homing heads mounted on the GVM-410 mockups. Specifications will be listed above. The R-33 is a very large and heavy missile designed specifically for high-altitude, high-speed flight. It features long-shored wings and is steered by larger tail fins, with the seeker and warhead located at the front. The missile is launched using AKU-33 catapult units, which brings it to a sufficient distance from the aircraft. The location of the R-33 under the fuselage led to design issues. The inability to install developed wings forced it to feature elongated ridges with protruding upper rudders that fold when the missile is on the suspension. For the guidance system, the R-33 employs a sophisticated dual-mode guidance system. Upon launch, it uses inertial navigation to receive mid-course updates from the launch aircraft. In the terminal phase, it transitions to semi-active radar homing using the RGS-33 seeker. Soviet doctrine emphasized remaining passive during interception, using ground control orders where possible. Only in the final phase of the missile flight would the target be illuminated by the launch aircraft's radar. A variant with an infrared seeker was evaluated but never actually developed. For some brief operational history, the guidance systems were improved under 1978, and the radar missile combination performed a simultaneous launch at 4 targets in August of that year. State trials began in March 1979 using the MiG-31, and were successfully completed in 1980. A government decision on May 6, 1981 recommended the R-33 for service adoption. The Zaslon phased array radar of the MiG-31 allows up to 6 missiles to be guided simultaneously at separate targets, though some sources state 4 missiles, so it varies. This capability represented a significant advancement in Soviet missile technology, enabling engagement of multiple targets beyond visual range at extended distances. The R-33 officially entered service in 1981, arming the new high-speed MiG-31 interceptors. It remained in service through the end of the Cold War, providing long-range firepower to the MiG-31 fleet guarding Russian borders. The baseline R-33 was followed by several variants: the R-33S, which was a significant upgrade entering service in 1990 with improved range, the R-33E, which is an export variant, and the K-37, or also known as the R-37, an upgraded version which we all know and love, and I will be making a video on that at some point, don't worry. The R-33's service life was prolonged into the 2000s through refurbishment that updated components and extended operational viability. As of 2025, the R-33 remains in limited service with MiG-31 interceptors, alongside the more advanced R-37 missile with refurbished units supporting ongoing operations. As usual, these missiles are quite old and many were cancelled, but I'm a strong advocate for variety in the technology we see added to War Thunder. While many of these missiles will never enter service, I believe they should still be included in the game in some way. Variety would not only make the overall grind feel better for those who don't just use premium vehicles, but it would also give players an incentive to revisit and play other aircrafts, and these could be some good event missiles. That concludes today's list. As you know, this is an ongoing series now, and while I'd love to share everything in one video, that would simply be too long and unnecessary. If you enjoyed this content, please hit that like button, leave a comment down below about missiles you'd like to see covered next. Whether Fox-2s, 3s, or 1s, doesn't matter. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. We're currently at 2.2 thousand and rapidly growing towards 3,000. I hope you all enjoyed the video, my fellow snail sufferers, and I'll see you in the next one.